Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This week's project is called Credence. It's by the artist Low G, featuring Carlos. Last week we had Carlos on the first episode of Level Up, and I'll put that in the description and the link below. If you're new to the channel, smash that subscribe button, throw your boy a like, leave a comment. Let me know what you want to see on Level Up. As always, I start with my template. I got a white background, and I'll show you something before we even get started. Something that you don't normally see is all the ideas that go into making the final product. I'll show you how I kind of got started before I even got close to the idea that I wanted. So one was like a little cash pile, and then there was a guy that I used. I was going to use him in the background. I didn't really know how I was going to use that. I also had an area rug, which this idea kind of stuck. I didn't like the rug though. I did use an area rug, but not that one. And then I had this guy. I was gonna use him some type of way. I had a floor idea. I had a dude walking through a building, what door? Looked like he's coming out of an office or something. Like it's a state office or something. The same guy doing a different pose. Same guy, different pose. Guy on a stool. Another guy posing. Cityscape. Window idea. Another window idea. Office type area. Executive. Businessman walking down the street. So those were some of those ideas. By a pool. As you can see, all of them said don't use. So that was kind of like after I figured out where I wanted to go with everything. An inmate. I think that says cell block door or something like that. Yeah, well, the inside of a cell. So just kind of some of the ideas that I thought about before I even put it together. So you could always have tons of ideas until you either talk with the artist, or even if the artists don't exactly know sometimes what they want, you can kind of brainstorm just off of just small tidbits that they give you. And then, as you talk with the artist a little bit more, you can get a more in-depth, determination of where they want to go. So those were my don't use files. And we'll go to the white template that I have. I added the wooden floors to it. And let's see what those look like. It's a smart layer, so smart object. So the smart object went to this, and that's where I pulled the floors from. And I just stretched them out. And then put a mask over it to hide that background, because I knew I was going to build another background after I started with that. So that's what the original floors look like. From that point on, I went to adding the ceiling and the stairs and the window, base trim. I think I even added this wall here and this wall here. So there's a lot of things that I added in this smart object. So let's go to that and kind of see what I added there. So we got the city in the background. I added the city. Then I added a plane. Let's find the plane. Okay, there's the plane. I added that, and we'll look at the plane as it moves across the sky. So we'll have the plane in the background moving. So we have the plane. We have the window. I added this whole window section, and I built that side too. So I actually build both those sides, and that's how I built that window. So that side, that's the left side, and this is the right side. I even built the middle as well. So I actually built all three sides of the window, and I hid some of it with what was existing from this picture here. I think this picture here had all this area right there. Then I had molding kind of wrap around. And I'll zoom in on that so you kind of see how I did that. And it's just a trim that goes around the base trim. Then I added a glass. So I actually went in there and added glass to it and gave it a haze. The stairs, that's the background that I used, plain. And then I added levels and hue and saturation just to kind of blend everything in. So I took some of that saturation off of it, and then I put the levels to kind of brighten it up. Same thing with that, I just put curves on it and just adjusted the dark levels and brought them up. Next we're going to cover the ceiling, and I'll show you that. So that was the original picture of what the ceiling and the inside of that looked like. So I just took the top part of it and then the can lights. And actually on the original they had different lighting, as you can see. That's these lights, and there was no light on this side. So I added some can lights and put one on this side right here. And then change these out. And the only thing I did was just laid it on top of it. So that's how I achieved the ceiling and built the stairs that I needed. We have the floor, we have the trim, we have the stairs, we have the lights, the ceiling, and so that's all, and then we have the background and the glass, and we built these walls here. So I'll show you how everything comes together. And from those lights, what I did, I added light beams projecting down from the sky, because they also had a couple of lights on the ceiling up at the very top. So I just built lights just to kind of light everything up. Then I added the artist's name. I'll scroll down in the timeline. And I actually used keyframes for this to do a stylized look. And that's just to make it glow. Kind of like a little neon sign. So just what the artist's name is glowing. We did the word Credence, title of the song. And it started out as just white. I kind of wanted to colorize it. I didn't want it to be white. So what I chose to do is add an inner shadow on it. See what that looks like. Then I added a drop shadow. And with that drop shadow, what I've done for that, I added a dissolve to it. So it's just not straight shadow. It has particles, like it's breaking apart. Angled at 45-degree angle. did some distance, some spread, sized it up, and then I changed the color to brown on it. Then I duplicated this layer, and then I laid it on top of it, added some more effects to it, did an inner glow to it. Now I was thinking about doing the drop shadow on top of that too, but then you couldn't read it. Then we have the neon glow layer, and since I already did featuring Carlos as a neon glow, I decided to do this as well, so you can see how I made it glow. There's nothing but keyframes of opacity. Then I added a leather couch, take the mask off, show you what that looks like. It was just a stock image that I found. It's already in the dark. Just cut it out, add a little bit of hue and saturation to it so it can blend in better with the scene, because it was oversaturated. I just pulled some saturation out of it. Then we have this shadow layer of the guy who's going to be sitting on the couch. You can see him, shadow right there. Here's the guy that's sitting on the couch. And like I told you earlier, it all came from one of the ideas that I had in one of the pictures before, and just seeing how best I could make one of the pictures work with one of the images that I found, and that was the best one that I chose out of all those. Then I took some saturation off the guy back there, just brought the saturation down so we could blend a little bit better in the scene. And remember that area rug that I talked about earlier? I added one in, but I was looking for the right one. That was the whole thing. When I had that other one in the do not use folder, it just didn't fit to me, and this one was a better fit. And I added a column in the room to kind of give it some separation. As like this big grand house or big grand penthouse or something like that. Like the floor plan is just massive. Then I added the chair. Of course, I added the drop shadow to that as well. And I had a heck of a time trying to get this part of the chair working right, because it already had like this exposure thing going on with it, and I'll take that off. But it just had this exposure thing that I was dealing with to try to darken that side up just a little bit. Even though in the original, I kind of felt like light should have been coming that way. I didn't do it, but I wanted to kind of darken it up so it wasn't so overexposed in that area. You can see what it looks like. So we have the chair, then we have the artist Carlos, and I have two versions of this. One where he's sitting down and one where he's standing up. The final version that was used was the standing up version. It just seemed to fit with the artist because I had the artist standing up, so I actually did one where Carlos was standing up. So I superimposed his head on another guy. And that's where we got that photo from. And this photo came from a video shoot that me and Carlos had done. And the name of that video shoot is called I'm Bad. If you want to check that out, I'll leave a link in the description below, and that's on the channel. And I'll zoom in and I'll show you some of the things I had to do to kind of build some of the things that wasn't there. I needed a neck, so I had to build a neck to fit with that. So sometimes you don't realize some of the things that a designer has to do when we don't have the pictures to actually make things come out a little bit better or get the exact look that we're looking for. So it's not always just having the right picture and putting it together and it's a quick process. And I've already shown about 20 layers within my smart objects that I kind of had to dive in and really create what I was looking for the artist. But that's that group of how I got him sitting down, and then just corrected some color issues that didn't fit well with the final product. Just some hue and saturation things, level, brightness, contrast type things. And that was in that group. But we didn't use this one, so I'm not going to worry about that. And this was in the final version. And so he's missing his midsection, and that's because I have a table right here. So I just kind of cut all that stuff out exactly right around the table area. But I'll show you exactly what it looked like. And we'll look at how we kind of build him. So we have his head. We have this image. And then we have a neck area that I built. Again, that I needed some more neck, so I had to create it. And then just kind of filling that stuff in. Then we have some sparkle on his watch. Then we have drop shadow for the table. Then we have the table itself. And that's where I got the tabletop from, but I actually added the legs to it. So we have the tabletop, but we have different legs. Shadow. And I actually used another table to set up how I wanted the table to look. So as you can see, I added some things to just kind of get the table to look the way I want it. And here are the legs of the table from the image that I started with. And I just built a table around it. Because I like the wooden look. And the reason why I went with the wooden look was just because of wooden floors, wooden stairs. All that stuff just kind of screamed to me it should have a wooden table, a wooden chair. So all that stuff just screamed to me like just make the table wooden. It doesn't need to be like that metal black that was in there. So I just took that tabletop and it was at the right angle, the right perspective that I needed to be. So that's why I used that tabletop right there. Then I did a pile of books. That's the guy sitting down. It starts to get confusing when you have all these layers. But the cool thing is that once you dive in and you set everything up, you'll start to organize all this stuff and keep all this stuff in one continuous order. And here's the books that I use. You can't really see them on the table, but that's not the point. I just needed some books on the table. And I did some packages here. And this one after it's color graded, you won't really see it, but I wanted to fill this little space up, kind of give it something right in the corner over there. So that's why I layered this one in with all that stuff. Then I added another book, and in this video group down here, I made the pages turn for this, and you'll see that in the finished product. Then we added a laptop, and that's just a laptop reflection. That's a laptop. Then we added some letters, and I'll zoom in on that. Just kind of like mail and stuff like that. Newspaper. Office phone, and that's the shadow. There's the office phone. And more newspapers. A weapon on the table. And most of the things that I'm picking and choosing, I think I even added a drop shadow right under it. Yeah, there we go. And most of the things that I'm choosing has to do with perspective. So you kind of want to sell the effect of setting up something with the right perspective. A lot of times you'll see things kind of look weird on most designs because they don't use the right perspective. I try to use the right perspective just to give the design some cohesiveness. And let's see if I can find that one layer where I use perspective. And there's a perspective layer in here somewhere. I don't exactly remember which layer it is. If we come across it, I'll show it to you. But I can't remember exactly where it's at. And then we did a painting. And with the painting, I figured that we needed a frame around it. So I built a frame around it. Just kind of make it an art piece instead of just a canvas piece. I mean, it's still on canvas, but I wanted it to kind of be more like a fancy art piece instead of just on canvas. And we added back of bullets. Zoom in on that. It wasn't in the right direction, so I just kind of flipped it around. Did a horizontal flip. There's an assault rifle. We added a shadow to that. Changed some exposure on it. Make it blend with everything. Then we added the statue as if it was this magnificent grand piece that you got from an art museum to go along with the painting. And we added an ancient vase, or a vase, as some people would say. And that's just to give all this cohesiveness once again. Just kind of make it look like fancy art. That he has a lot of class about it. Then I added gold, as if he has a gold treasure, and all that blended in down in there. Then I'll take you to the gold layer. You have gold bars that I added in there. You have the gold chest. You have the bag of gold. I think I added a couple of coins to kind of fill in an area that didn't have any coins in it. Yeah, you can see where I filled the whole section of gold coins. Then we have the luggage, which I think is not in the final version. The author said he didn't want that, so I'll remove it for now. We'll just move on to the next thing. Then we have Carlos. He has a brand as well. It's called Tom Slick, which is actually a pretty cool clothing brand. And I want to incorporate that onto the back of the computer. And that's one cool thing when you know your clients. You could always incorporate some of their ideas or some of their products onto some of the things that you're creating whenever you're designing something. So, like I said, this Tom Slick logo, I incorporated it onto the back of this laptop. Back out. It also glows too, so I did like glowing neon setup for this. I'll show you that. Let's find it in the timeline. Let me show you what that looks like. And that's just adding keyframes to the layer style. So we have that neon look going on. Let's dive into what I use to achieve that. An inner glow, gradient, and outer glow. And that's what I added the keyframes to, the outer glow. Then we had the artist OG, and that was the first image that we used for him. I thought it was pretty cool because it went with the art collection to me, and it went with Carlos in the background, them two in suits and just kind of like high end, a high end artist, and then you have the guy back there in the suit, but he wanted something a little bit more grimier. So I'll show you what that looks like. But I actually like this one. Actually, let's dive into this one. And I will show you what it looks like. And as you can see, sometimes you just have to superimpose things. So this one had another layer on top of that. So what I did, this was from a music video shoot that me and Logi did. I'll dive into that. Turn that off. And this is from his music video, Mention Me. So this was a frame that I pulled from the video. Just added a mask around his face, just the area that I needed. Did some color adjustments, desaturation, some more curves. As you can see, there's a whole bunch of adjustment layers that I have on here. And that's just for his face, so it can blend better. And then as you can see, I put his face right on top of this guy. I tried to blend it as well as possible. And that's what it looks like. And I tried to blend it a little bit more so that it would fit in the scene better. And then I added some rim lighting from the sun coming outside into the room. So the light is wrapping around his body. And then there's also a shadow on the wall as well, since he's leaning up against the wall. And that's the body one. I think this is the head. Yeah. See right in here where his head is at. But We didn't go with this one, which I like both of them. And we did the same thing with this one. And I'll show you how I got the body that I needed for that one. Superimpose this again. Shirt. That's his head. He already had a chain on, so I just added to his chain that whole area right here. And that's what it looked like with the chain he already had. There's a lot of layers in here as well. Then we added a handgun in here. We added a little shadow. Probably a few minutes. Kind of see that. There's the handgun. Then we added the duffel bag, which is what we ended up using in the final product. And I just did some color correcting. As you can see, it was a richer brown orange. We wanted it to blend a little bit better. And here's that vanishing point layer that I was talking about perspective earlier. I couldn't find it. I didn't know where it was. But this is what I used to set the room up. So I wanted everything along this plane somewhat of the same perspective. Then we added the color grade to it. We added the Kodak 2395 lookup, and I added a curve to it. I'll show you what my curve looks like. And I have another one on top of that, and all of them were at different opacities, so I can kind of blend the colors together. Then I did selective color, and I was just messing with some of the reds. That's my color grade. Then my final color grade, I used another lookup table, teal and orange, to try to give it that sunset look coming through the window, kind of blend with that back there, that cityscape. We have that sunlight peeking through the window. See how that looks. And I added a vignette to it, and that's just a levels vignette. That's what it looks like. I want to show you how messy this is, because the vignette, the way I added the vignette is I want to darken certain parts of it, but not everything. And what I did is I inverted everything. Then I added the artist's name up here. And that's basically it for the project. And I'll show you the final product. Oh, I didn't show you this Tupac layer. We used an actual clip from when he was talking to an interviewer. And that goes in the painting. And that's your final product. We got Tupac talking, we got the book flipping, we got the neon light featuring Carlos, neon light low G. We got the Tom Slick logo, which is neon lights. We got Tupac in the background, neon lights. So we got a lot going on, and we even have the plane that's flying through that you can see in the background. So that's multiple things you can do when you're leveling up your animated graphics. It just depends on where you want to place everything, how you want to place it. But the main thing to think about is just giving a good visual to the story. That's going to kind of keep some attention. So that's going to do it for this week's edition of Leveling Up. I'll see you next week. As always, teach, learn, grow, and inspire.
Everything I'm saying is a warning.